What's up, guys? This is Carter Thomas with Coin Mastery TV. Make sure you go and join the newsletter, get the PDFs, get on the newsletter, go to coinmastery.com/invest. If you're joining us from the podcast, make sure you also go to YouTube and get the video versions. Go to coinmastery.com/YouTube to get all the visuals and live updates. We do daily updates and analysis of the crypto markets. Talk about some trading. We talk about what's happening in the bigger picture. We talk about some of the new projects. The entire goal of these videos and this audio is to help you make better decisions, which will allow you to capitalize on what I consider to be the greatest financial opportunity of your lives, my lives, ever, right? So very exciting times, and I'm thrilled to be a part of this with you. Let's start by just jumping into the Bitcoin charts. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the overall picture. We're going to talk a little bit about what happened yesterday with the run-up with Golem and OMG. And we're going to talk about it in a way that you guys can learn from, so that next time something like this happens, you can either profit off of it or stay calm during it all. Talk about how to identify those sort of things. We're going to talk about Neo, what's happening with Neo. Then we're going to talk about a few other things that really revolve around, or we're going to talk a little bit about automated trading bots. That's something that a lot of you guys are interested in, so I want to mention that or talk through it a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about cognitive biases, and then also a little bit about mindset within crypto. So we'll get to it all. I must admit, I have a splitting headache today. So that's why my voice is a little softer, but I definitely want to make sure I get this done. So that's why it might not be quite as sharp as usual. Let's look at Bitcoin. So you guys know, as of yesterday, I talked about this little gap here, low 3000s, and how I don't really know what to make of this other than I set some buy orders, some open buy orders for Bitcoin down there around 3,100. Just in case this fills. It may be nothing, I don't know. But the good news is, when you look at the Bitcoin charts, we're starting to see this, I guess you call it a cup, not necessarily a cup and a handle, but we start to see this market start to work itself out. I think that we're continuing to see upward momentum. I think we'll continue to see upward momentum. I don't think we're in a bear channel anymore. So as long as the overall architecture of this Bitcoin curve stays intact, which it looks like it will, it seems like we're on our way up. I think the overall sentiment that I'm seeing in the community is one of everyone's really excited, that the red is off the table, but it just doesn't have the same bullish rebound that at least I've seen in the last few. And that's just my take, right? I could be way off on that, but that's just what I've gotten from just from talking and from looking and listening to everything that's going on. So for all intents and purposes, I think that things are looking good. Often when this goes sideways, right? This is a little hard because if it flattens out, it doesn't look quite as realistic. But as Bitcoin's price goes sideways, that's typically a sign that altcoins are going to start to receive a lot of money. So if you see this continuing to go sideways, that money's going to flow somewhere, and usually flows into altcoins. So if it goes way up, great. If it goes sideways, altcoins, where you want to be looking. Let's pop open Bittrex. Now, the big news that I saw yesterday, completely 100% because I own both Golem and OMG, which many of you guys saw me buy a bunch of Golem, a couple Bitcoin worth, and immediately started to go down pretty considerably. Luckily, I held on to all that, so it's back a little bit, but there's a big run up yesterday, which I think is worth checking out. Now let's open up Golem here, and it started yesterday morning and right around here, and I shouldn't say yesterday morning, I guess it was like a day and a half, 2 days ago. This is a 30-minute chart, not a 5-minute. And it went all the way up, and we saw a really big surge yesterday afternoon. And I asked about this on Twitter, right? I tweeted about this because I was looking this up. I was looking all over the place, asking as many people as I could. And from what I could tell, I was looking for hard news. I was looking for confirmed real stuff from the OMG or from the Golem team to verify these rumors, because who cares about news if it's not real? You know, if it's just a rumor, it's just a rumor. There's nothing to it. And so the airdrop, which means that OMG or Golem basically gives everybody who owns Golem their OMG, that's really all it means. So if you own Golem, you get OMG as an airdrop. And the other thing is a Golem integrating Plasma, which even that wasn't hard news. It was more of a very strong rumor that were both being talked about by people on the teams. And I asked everybody, am I missing something? Do you have any links that we can confirm? And you guys had awesome responses. So thank you if you responded to this. This is really terrific. But a lot of this, it was rumors. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, we're just aggregating data, which is all you can really do in this case. And from there, my own conclusion was, if this is all rumors and we're seeing a huge run up in price, as we see right here, especially yesterday afternoon, this is what they call buy the rumor, sell the news, which means when you hear about the rumor, everyone gets in their head, oh my God, this is going to go absolutely crazy. This is going to be huge. And then when the news comes out and there's nothing really that spectacular, or really nothing's changed, then you see this drop off, which is exactly what happened. It's easy to, I think the one thing that happens, and this is why it's hard to remember this, is that we often think that everybody knows this, or more importantly, that everybody is able to divorce themselves from their own emotions. Because when you go and you look on Facebook or on Twitter or Bitcoin Talk or any Reddit, whatever, you will see these rumors just flying around, and you really won't see people asking, hey, is this real news? Is this really happening, or is this just a rumor? You don't see that very often, which to me always blows my mind, because it's such a basic principle of these mini bull runs that you want to verify it before you actually commit to that that trade, unless you're really rolling the dice, which I wouldn't recommend. But that's why it happens, right? Because everybody, and you'll see this, the rumor can start at 8 a.m. and by the afternoon, people are still talking about it and still getting excited about it. So even if you heard about the rumor or that whatever, don't assume that everybody's heard about it yet. And that's why it can continue, and that's why I can get even more and more FOMO involved, because it doesn't stop, right? And once you decide, oh, I'm not going in, that's when it really goes up, right? And that's why these go more and more vertical whenever they are buy the rumor, sell the news. So what you can do about this, next time you're watching the charts and you see a big run, the first thing you do is go and look up, right? Go on Twitter and go into the search box and type in the name of the coin and go see what people are talking about. And if everybody's talking about something, go verify that it's news and not just a rumor. If it's all rumors, you can make a pretty good case that this bull run is not going to last very long at all. And so that's what it is, right? You can do whatever you want from that. So you can do that, go on Facebook, go on Reddit, go on all the places and verify, be able to understand why the volume is happening. Why is this price going up? And make sure that reason is totally legitimate and founded. Now, the other piece of this, which hasn't really happened, so I could be wrong on this in many ways, right? But OMG also had a bit of a run up, a little less severe, because I think that a lot of people consider OMG much more of a front runner, and they were bringing up Golem, both from market cap and just reputation. So OMG didn't really benefit from the Golem stuff. And then it had a big spike potentially on some Google rumors and other stuff. But then it's slowly coming back down now. I thought that you would see, as you'd see this sell-off in Golem, I thought that you'd see a lot of cash going over to OMG. Now, whether or not that happened, I don't know, because you can't really see where money goes in and comes out. But I personally didn't think that OMG was going to have as severe of a drop. I also didn't expect this final big pump this morning, but that was interesting, right? I think that probably still is happening. But the bigger point, and the reason why you should care about this, is because when we tell ourselves a story about why something is happening that has nothing to do with hard facts or new, like things that are verified, when we create that story, our brain naturally assigns value judgments to the parties involved. Meaning, if you were watching this Golem and you said, oh man, this partnership's happening, this is gonna be amazing, and you bought some Golem and it went way up. As you saw Golem go down, the immediate thing that your brain is gonna do is not gonna say, okay, well, if I'm gonna sell this Golem, let's go back over to Bittrex, let me look at my list and find a really good investment. Let me do the charts and look through everything. Your brain is naturally gonna say, well, OMG is obviously the winner because that's what I've been thinking about. That's the comparison I've been making in my brain. And you got to be really careful about those cognitive biases, because otherwise you start putting money into stuff without having a very good research foundation. A really good example of this that many people have done, and this one's a little less whatever, but when people log into Coinbase, especially for the first time, and they decide to buy some crypto, they look at Bitcoin and they see a price of, let's say, 4,600. And then they look at Litecoin and they see a price of 75 or whatever, US dollars. And they think to themselves, well, I can either own one Bitcoin or I can own whatever it is, 30 Litecoin. I don't know what the math is, right? And immediately they go, well, I can get, like, look at the better return I get on Litecoin. I get 30 of them versus one, right? Without any other research, without any other foundation. It's just that when you compare two things, when you're looking at two things in a micro environment like this, your brain will only focus on those two, right? That's what brains are trained to do, is cut out the noise and focus what we're thinking about. So the reason why I bring that up is because as you start to look at your trades, as you start to see things like this, as you start to compare coin one versus coin two, you got to stay objective. You got to remember that it's not an echo chamber. There is a larger world out there that you can move this money, all sorts of stuff. That's why I recommend writing things down. That's why I recommend having 4 or 5 coins already researched and set up so that you don't get caught up in this kind of stuff. So cool. All right. The other story was NEO, right? So you may have woken up, or if you're overseas somewhere and you saw NEO really take off. Now, I did not buy any NEO, as I said yesterday, but it did come down to 43, which would have missed my buy order anyway, because I would have set it, like I said yesterday, at 42. It would not have filled, so I would have missed out anyway. If you did buy some yesterday, kudos, congratulations. It was cool to see this accumulate, pop back up, have a second down phase, and then really blow up. The reason why is because Bitfinex, which is one of the largest exchanges in the world, they just launched NEO. Whether or not this was calculated or coordinated, meaning whether or not somebody was accumulating because they knew this news or whether or not they were pushing things down because they knew this news, that's TBD. I mean, you can follow guys like Bitfinex on Twitter, who's the ultimate conspiracy theorist about Bitfinex and how they're using Tether as basically a way to scam people out of money. And so there's a lot of conspiracy theories about this, but conspiracy theories aside, it's really interesting to watch these sort of trends happen, where you can see the accumulation and then you see the catalyst that is what it needs to pop the price up, right? And then you see people taking profits over here, right? You know, between 70 and 60, and then assuming all, the ICO news and everything else works out, which it probably will, this will probably have a nice slow run back up to previous levels. So anyone who bought, congrats, awesome. I didn't, but that just wasn't in my bullpen of what I was supposed to buy or what I was planning on buying. So it goes. All right, let's look at trading algorithms briefly. A bunch of people have asked about this. I just wanted to talk about this. This will be an ongoing conversation. This is not, I've never used Gunbot, which is the one that people have been asking about. The only trading algorithms I've ever used, or I should say for crypto in the last 2 months, are one that I worked with somebody locally who built one, and then one where actually a viewer of Coin Mastery reached out, or him and his team, who had built one from scratch, and we've been testing it through that. Gunbot, if you don't know, is, from what I can tell, it hooks into, let's say, Poloniex or Bittrex or something, which is the exchanges, and then it allows algorithms to buy and sell stocks based on whatever that algorithm may be, whatever the logic is. So you can have an algorithm that says, hey, when volume increases to 25% of last week's average or whatever, buy. Or I mean, who knows what the logic is, but it automates it all. And the name of the game is finding a algorithm that really works. And it's a very tantalizing thing to find, because if or when you find or identify the algorithm that works, it's free money. It's as close to printing money as you can get, probably in any business model. It's just really difficult to do. And the other hard part is that it's very difficult to, you have to keep optimizing it because the markets change, right? The market cap changes, the coin behavior changes, technology changes. So it's not a long term, but you can tweak it and get it moving. So if you're interested, what I would recommend you do, like I said, I'm not recommending Gunbot, but it's just the one that people seem to be talking about. You can check out Gunbot. You can check out something like Crypto Trader. What I will tell you is that if somebody has an algorithm that is really profitable over the long term, they are not going to be putting it in the public. And they're certainly not going to be charging 0.1 Bitcoin a month, right? They're probably, because you can make an unlimited amount of money. That's why real trading algos that work on the stock market, you can't touch them because they make billions of dollars, and it's an incredibly valued intellectual property. So I would encourage you to, if you're interested in stuff, go check it out. Check out the Bitcoin Talk, because then you can really learn from people who have already tried it, people who can give you recommendations, maybe give some ideas on where to go. I would also manage your expectations on whether or not, like someone who says, hey, I've got this algorithm that's going to work, and all you got to do is press a button and you're going to get rich. Be very skeptical of that. But I do think that there's an opportunity in crypto, because it's so young, for somebody who's very smart with this sort of thing, more of a math engineering background. If you really like to test this, I do think that there's a lot to be said for this. This is something that I'm obviously working with these guys. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. It's not my specialty, but I'm more than happy to help out. Go check it out. The other thing to keep in mind with this is that it's a complete rabbit hole. And if you're just throwing a lot of stuff at the wall, you can wake up in a month and wonder what the heck just happened. So make sure you have a plan, like you're testing things, you're talking to people, you're improving, so that you don't spend a month on something and end up losing 0.2 Bitcoins because you tested 900 things and you just broke even when you could have worked in the markets and made 5x that. So there's always an opportunity cost, but I do think it's worth checking out. So go check it out. Bitcoin Talk's probably the place I would go, because then you get like the reviews. All right, last thing, or second to last thing I should say, Crypto Bull, if you guys don't follow him, great guy, Crypto God, I should say. It's crypto_God. Just kind of a classic crypto guy where he puts up really good stuff, promotes a lot of coins that he gets paid for. It's great. And he put up a survey, 2 surveys. The first one was, would you rather choose $9 or 60,000 Satoshis, or would you rather get 9? And then the second question is, would you rather get 9 Bitcoin or 60,000 US dollars? And what's interesting is that when you do the math on this, the US dollar amounts are way more than the Bitcoin amounts. But a majority of people choose the crypto amounts because for whatever cognitive reasons, right? They just like it's going to be worth so much money down the road, instead of realizing, hey, if I just took this US dollars and converted it to Bitcoin, I would make way more money on this. And I think that seeing things like this they're always helpful to make you step back and look at the decisions you're making, look at the portfolio that you have, look at the trades that you're making, and always make sure that you're measuring what you're doing the right way. And we talked a couple of weeks ago about trading against Bitcoin versus US dollars. I'm a big believer in trading against Bitcoin for obvious reasons, because your alternative is just holding Bitcoin. But the more you see things like this, the more you look at what you're doing and you see the trade-off, you see the real profitability, as opposed to just living in crypto world and just assuming like everything is going to make us all millionaires, and no matter what, it's all just going to work out. And while I'm very bullish on this whole industry, this sort of thing is why people wake up in 1 year who have been in the crypto world, actively accumulating, maybe even trading, but holding. And then they wake up and they don't really have nearly as much money as they thought they would. And it's because they get caught up in these kind of cognitive biases. So I just love this stuff because I think it's just so important and so powerful to see and to remind ourselves of, where's the real profit coming. Last thing I'll say, kind of along these lines, this is something that I've been thinking through a lot, and I would imagine a lot of other people have too. So I just want to put it out there. This, as you guys know, I hold a majority. I would say 60 or 70% of my crypto is just, it's locked up. I don't touch it. Once a month, I refill all the things or the profits I made that month, and I let it go. And then I just have a stack of Bitcoin that I trade with, right? It's like 25, 30%. And I just kind of feed that big holding supply. And I still believe in that, because I do think holding is a hedge against myself, which is always a good idea. But I'm starting to, let me give you a little backstory. I have built a bunch of companies in the last 6-7 years of being an entrepreneur. Worked at some startups before that. And I've been through, I would say, 2 or 3 other really impressive emerging markets, right? Most notably the App Store. And I distinctly remember thinking back, and I looked through some old emails, I looked through some old notebooks and looked through it. And back in 2012, 2013, before I sold my first company, it was doing really well, like more money than I'd ever made in my entire life. And I didn't get complacent, but I kind of just, I lost the attack mode feeling. Right? I got a little kind of, I'll be really kind of long-term strategic about this and make sure all the moves are right. And it still worked out for the most part. It was a great business to be. It is a great business to be. I still do a lot of it. But looking back, I should have gone so much. I should have doubled down so much more on the opportunities that were in front of me. And I don't have any regrets about this. But the more I think about the path that's gotten me here. And I've been very fortunate. I'm very grateful for the things that have happened. I've worked for it, but it's worked out. The more I start to think about, am I doubling down enough on crypto right now? And I would encourage you to ask yourself the same thing. Now, the first thing you got to do is you got to manage risk. You got to be realistic about how much money you're willing to lose. Because if you're not willing to lose the money, and I also encourage you to know that whatever the amount of money that you think you are comfortable losing, chances are it's about half of that, without knowing anybody personally here, right? But this is seriously, this is the most insane opportunity ever. I mean, and it'll keep going. It's going to be around for a while. But I think for the next 6 to 12 months, this is just going to continue to be crazy, crazy gangbusters. And I already can tell that if I look back on this business, and I can't honestly say, yeah, I laid it all out there. I stayed up at night researching the right coins. I put bigger bets down, but I was smart about it with stop losses and everything. I think I'm going to be really upset if I don't go for it. So I'm not changing anything about my hold and my Bitcoin or whatever, at least not yet. And I would not recommend anybody change your strategy immediately. But I do think it's it's a little irresponsible almost to our future selves to not throw down as hard as we can on what's in front of us. And I'm saying this just because I've been through different business models, and I've had varying degrees of how hard I went on them. And I think that I would just encourage you to ask yourself that question. Right? In 10 years from now, you're going to look back on 2017 and think to yourself, there was coins going up 50% in a day, in an hour sometimes. I mean, we watched it yesterday, going up 40%. And there's a lot too about how do you identify them and how you prepared and being smart about it. But are you really going in? Like this is the most ridiculous opportunity ever to make money. And this is it. Like I've seen a lot of businesses. So something to keep in mind. And if you're not doing enough and you want to do more, what could you do? I don't think it necessarily means you got to go take out a loan on your house. Don't do that. But I do think, are you reading enough white papers? Are you really doing the research on some coins that could really go big? Because there are some huge winners in here. And as much as you're going to hear people say, oh, this one's a winner, this one's a winner, this one's a winner, you got to do it yourself. You got to do that research yourself if you want the rewards. That's just how it works out over the long term. But I'm starting to think that the more I get into this, the more I'm looking at this and saying, man, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. And I want to be in that mindset and be around people in that mindset and let's just gas it as hard as we can while the fire is hot. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you guys for joining me today. It's always a pleasure, and I will see you tomorrow. Make sure that you go and sign up. Go subscribe on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up button. Help us get some new viewers with the algorithm, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.